Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, this is episode 15 of the SuperNova Show. And I am your host, Colton Roberts. I want to say thank you to Kevin for coming on last week and hosting the show while I was on vacation. I much appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you, Aaron, for coming on and helping while we talk Schmoedown. That was awesome. Thank you, Amaru, for being on the show, and thank you, Robert. Today, I've got Robert Castor with me, and we're going to do some awesome stuff. We're going to talk some Schmoedown Throwdown. Full Metal Geek had their the end of their championship tournament, and then their championship match. Opening night trivia had they crowned their new champion, and TMGeek had their big championship match. So we're going to talk about some of that, some MCU Phase 1, and then some Falcon and Winter Soldier. So this is going to be a good time. I cannot wait. Let me go ahead and bring out Mr. Robert Castor.
Hey, before anything, this happened a few days ago based on when this is airing, but rest in peace, DMX. As I was told, he's, shutting it down and opening up shop, stopping, dropping, shutting down, opening up shop, and upstairs now. The not too old age of 50, fortunately. So
yeah, and then of course, Friday morning, Prince Philip died as well.
That also happened. Yes, for people in this country, I think one death was more important than the other.
Yeah, as a person who I'm not huge into music, so when Prince Philip died, I was hit by that a lot more.
Oh, wow. We're on the other end of the spectrum because I grew up, DMX music, and I played it all the time. I do like things like Cradle to the Grave and Romeo Must Die, and even Exit Wounds. So I felt it. I felt that one. Prince Philip, I was like, well, he's 99, so I get it.
Yeah, it's definitely different. Like my family has always been super they've appreciated the royal family. Like when Diana died, my grandma cried for a week. So I'm sure. So I was like, I'm glad he was 99. He got to live a long, long life, and
life of
being a royal prince. So that must have been the life. So
a royal prince who didn't have to govern anything.
Yeah. Nope. But so it's been an interesting week. Like I said, I was off last week, so that was loads of fun. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good. We had a fun time discussing all manners of things. It was a pretty long episode because we had a lot to talk about. Certain themes, we were catching up on certain details because couldn't talk about certain things the week before. I'm good. Long week of work, but I'm glad that it's over. Got some things that I'm training for, so I've put a lot of focus into watching a lot of movies. A lot of them I've seen before, some I haven't, but I'm feeling pretty good, and it's the weekend, so what's not to like?
Yep. I know last time we had to end really abruptly because my son, even though my mother told him, "Hey, don't ride your bike in the dark," Raphael, he was like, "Ooh, I'm gonna do it." So then
I'll show you.
Yeah, he hit a ditch and fell on his arm. And they thought it was broken. It was not. So we're good with that. That's great. But yeah, I remember we were about to talk about Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and I had to skedaddle.
Mm-hmm.
But
you're right there, and then
and then last week on the ride home, I listened to most of the podcast because my car has Bluetooth, so I just plugged it in and just listened to most of it, and I was like, I wish I was there to talk about this.
I think we had a nice philosophical discussion about the themes of Falcon and Winter Soldier with two differing opinions of two people coming from different ethnic and socioeconomic backgrounds, or ethnic backgrounds at least, for sure. So that was nice.
Yeah, and it was definitely interesting. Like I remember starting the show and y'all went in like a different order than what I do. So it's nice seeing what other people do for the show. When I go to vacation again in September, I'll get to do that because I am very formulaic on how.
We'll be talking about Hawkeye.
Yeah, maybe Miss Marvel. I don't know.
Marvel. I don't remember what comes out after Loki, frankly. So
yeah, What If comes out at some point, but yeah, it's that one I'm really interested in because it's going to be animated and they can do anything.
I'm interested in it because Chadwick Boseman did some voice work for it.
Oh man, now I'm gonna cry.
Might be the last time we hear his voice in a recording for stuff or anything new.
Yeah, like my wife, when he passed away, it was not a good time.
No,
because it was not expected at all. Like
we thought it was hoax. Honestly, we were like, "What the heck is this? Why would this be new? Why would I get Yahoo News updates about this? Because it's a freaking hoax."
Yeah, I guess like where he had colon cancer all that time, and he just pushed through it and didn't tell anyone, and then he passed away. So my wife will send me like Black Panther stuff all the time, and I'll just be like in there, like, oh, and she'll be like, "You're sad?" I was like, "Yep, sure am."
This has been the staple of my board since it happened, and I don't think I'm going to change it. So
yeah, like apparently they did something in like Fortnite where Black Panther was up the top of the mountain, and he did the Wakanda Forever thing, and all of the Marvel heroes were there, and they did it, and I was just like, woo-hoo. But
it's interesting you're talking about that, and we'll get to it. But for Falcon and Winter Soldier, I got some Black Panther-y vibes beyond the obvious of why that is, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah, like that was interesting. I gotta, but yeah, that was a very interesting time. Yeah, like that one and Carrie Fisher are probably and Robin Williams are probably the celebrity deaths that have hit me the hardest.
I'll tell you, lately, Kobe was one. I remember I was taking a shower. My wife came in and she was like, "Did you see that Kobe died?" And I was like, "Huh?" Because that was out of the blue because it was an accident. And I couldn't believe that one. That one shook me. Especially because, he was starting a different phase of his life and he had won an Oscar. And he had so many things he was planning on doing and it got cut short. So that was one lately that I can think of that was something that I would consider to be a shaken to the core type of death.
Yeah. I agree. As a person who I watch a lot of wrestling, and the guy who plays the Undertaker, he came out and said he was like, Kobe's death hit me so hard that I decided I needed to retire from wrestling.
Wow, I didn't realize that was the case. But
because he said that you don't know what time you're going to have with your family, and if he gets dropped on his head accidentally or something, he's gone. And he's like,
happened to Owen Hart, right?
Yep. And
about that one sometimes.
Yeah, like it's crazy. But
morbidity aside, the point is that some unfortunate things happened this week. And I just wanted to highlight it down here because that was someone who was important to me.
Yeah. I understand. All right, so let's move on to the Schmoedown or the fan leagues. So the Schmoedown Throwdown, it was
on Friday.
But we're gonna go ahead and do some predictions for it.
But because the past is the present and the future.
Yeah, we're about to do a time heist, and we're gonna do some predictions for that.
We don't know the past, even though we're living in the future.
Yeah.
We need to do some predictions here.
Yeah. So it's Stacey Howard versus Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
And then Dan Murrell versus Adam Collins for the title.
Yes. Quite a great throwdown. And then it's only what, a couple weeks, or is it a week after that we do the teams match? We do the Odd Couple and Shazam.
Yep. Yeah. So what do you think? Stacey Howard versus Kevin Smith.
This is awesome. We got to see Kevin Smith have 2 matches, 2 more than I ever anticipated that he would ever have, which is great. But I know Jericho is being built in before before that they played as someone who was a serious movie trivia contender. We thought of it, and most people think of it more as a way to draw fans in because he's Chris Jericho, but not to be taken as seriously in regards to his movie trivia knowledge. Then we had the spectacular where he played
Zaflurtenflaus.
Yeah, Zaflurtenflaus, who is, again, a spectacle to get people to come and watch, but again, not really a movie trivia competitor. We're finally getting to see him against someone we would consider a real movie trivia contender. And even despite that, I'm still taking Kevin Smith. And I'm taking Kevin Smith because even though he's proved me wrong. I thought he wouldn't have the ability to recall things because of the recreational choices that he makes in his life, but I was wrong. And he can recall stuff, and I listen to his podcasts and stuff, and I know he has a fairly good memory on things sometimes. He's impressed me in his 2 matches at how well he could play. And I think given he's still in the Quirky Mercs, right?
Yep.
Okay. Given that he has Coy as a manager, I think that's kind of the best person to suit him for how he's going to participate in the league. And despite Stacey Howard's track record, I'm still going Kevin Smith.
Yeah, I tend to agree, Kevin Smith. But Stacey Howard has that Josh McCouga-like luck to pull the random 5-pointer. So I'm not going to doubt that she can't do it. I would not even be surprised.
Or she just has luck that she can pull out a match, because I think Gray Drake should have won that match. And Gray Drake just got unlucky for her in her 3rd round when they played.
Yep. Yeah, so I go Kevin Smith as well. Yeah, that's going to be I think that's going to be a good match. I think it's going to be better than his match against Brett, and it's going to be better than his match against Jericho. So,
well, I mean, that match went to overtime, right?
Yeah.
But you mean like it'll be a higher quality of play?
Yeah, I think, because honestly, the first 2 matches, I thought the questions were a little easier than they are the standard Schmoedown question.
Yes and no. I agree / disagree. I think there were questions in there I was surprised that they asked, honestly.
Because I normally know, when in a normal singles match, I know 1 question. And I got 6 out of 8 in his Jericho match, and then 4 out of 8 in his match with Brett.
So you're basing it around your own experience with
and I am literally the worst. Like, I'm gonna have to play singles in opening night trivia league eventually.
Yeah.
Because I signed up, but I said I'm gonna job so hard to someone. But guess what? I get to put geek stuff on the wheel. Or ask a deep cut. Make it a deep cut geek question. So I might do well because of that factor alone, not for my ability to actually play the game. But
might be able to keep in the match at least.
Yeah. Again, if I get 1 question right in round 1, that's what the standard is.
I think you should go for 2 because it's 10 questions as opposed to 8.
Yeah. I'll see. It's all according to, like, if they ask me movie release dates, I've got that down. Like, I have a spreadsheet with every single movie that's ever been made on it, and I just go through it every once in a while just to see what's up. But if they do something like that, I might be able to pull out a second one. But normally, if it's like I only know so many actors, directors, and stuff in regular movie trivia. But yeah, all right. So Dan Murrell versus Adam Collins.
Yes.
What you got?
Obviously, this was the likelihood that this would happen, that we would get this so quickly, was fairly high. I know some people, I even picked Jeff Snyder to beat him, but I'm not surprised that he won that number one contenders match and we're back here. It seems like these guys are destined to sort of play, going back to what it is that we had seen in the old Schmoedown, where this belt will hot potato between a few people, most likely being these two. And there might be a third or fourth person, like a Bateman or something, but I would say it was most likely to be between these two. Just for the simple fact that we haven't seen it yet. And by that, I mean, we haven't seen an Adam Collins loss yet. My inclination is to stick with Adam Collins. I know he hasn't played since the Spectacular. Dan's only played that one additional match, but I'm going to keep betting with him until I see him lose and I see him have a weakness, see him succumb to a weakness. He hasn't had one yet. So my bet is that Collins retains the belt. So he'll be one of the few people who ever got to defend a belt with Dan, with Sam. And is that it? Did Riley defend?
Riley in the early days.
In the early days. Those are the three, right? Nobody else has ever defended the belt.
Let's see.
Oyama didn't defend it. Bateman didn't.
No. Oyama defended it against Jeff Snyder.
Oh shit, you're right. Okay, fine. Him, yeah. 4. But Roken never defended it. Bateman never defended it. Ethan never defended it. Bibbs never defended it.
No.
That's it, right? That's the whole list, I think. So
yeah,
those 4. So he'll join that list of 4, and it'll be a list of 5. That's my prediction. Dan's great. I love Dan. He's my favorite competitor ever. I just don't think, and even though that other match that they played at Spectacular was very close and was one of the best matches ever, I just don't think Dan's equipped at this point. Really, honestly. I know he's got a great faction behind him of people who study. I'm just not going to bet against Collins until I see him lose.
Yeah, I agree. I want Collins to win, but I would not be surprised if Dan won.
No, not at all.
Like, I think the support system behind Dan is significantly better than the support system behind Adam.
You sure?
Yeah, I think Ben is a much better player than everyone else on Corruption.
I don't think it's much better. But I think there's a more well-rounded series of people who can help Dan in the dungeon, where I think it's Chance and Mike who could help Collins, and that's basically it.
Yeah, but I still think Ben is much better he's definitely much better than Mike. Mike is
at this point probably, because Mike lost to Perry in the tournament.
And then
singles match.
Chance is good.
Chance is very good.
Very good, but I still don't think he's on the level of Ben Bateman.
Interesting. I would like to see them play.
I would absolutely love that. That would be great. Maybe when the singles tournament rolls around.
Well,
because I think
people have to get far in the tournament. Chance lost in the second round unexpectedly, and Bateman wasn't in it, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah, he chose the title shot instead of going through the tournament.
Yes. Which might have helped the exchange a little bit, but whatever.
Yeah. I think if he had entered the tournament, it would have helped the exchange a whole lot. But
but you had Roka lose in the first round to the champion, and you had Barbarian lose in the second round to Bibbs, I think that's what it was. Yeah. So people didn't get very far.
But yeah, I think I want Adam Collins to win. And mine might be for selfish reasons, because I want him on the show as champion. And he's supposed to come on in like 3 or 4 weeks or something like that. So that might be me being selfish.
I have a selfish reason as well. If he keeps winning, then I continue to be one of the last people who ever beat him in a trivia match online.
Oh, Good.
Even though I don't care about that really, because it really doesn't mean anything. He was nowhere near the person he is right now playing, but still, I still have that in my repertoire.
Yeah. I really won't like. I remember when he played IG for the movie Trivia Face Off. He's good. Like, if he can do this in singles, he could definitely do it in IG. But I think as long as he holds the singles belt, he won't go into IG.
Why would he? He has no reason to. He can get the team. Him and Marisol are decent enough that they could contend for a team's title, and he has the singles belt. Why does he need to do anything else? He doesn't.
So what do you think about? I know they announced the teams tournament. I'm trying to remember for the life of me what Dan and Ben's team
I forget what it was. I heard it too, and it's escaping me at the moment.
It's like is it the Danger Zone?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and then Roka and JTE are Rushmore, and I'm like, that is okay.
So
yeah, and then there's some names like Ethan and Liz. Their team name is Lightning Time, and I'm like, I hate that name.
That's an awful name.
That is a horrible name. Like, I understand it's like a combination of their nicknames. Yay. But I don't like it. Like,
sometimes your combo for nicknames can be like lightning has hit, pun intended, and other times you're just forcing it. And that's one of those ones where it's a force. But
yeah, Adam Collins, I think is going to win, but I think it may go to overtime again.
It could.
That will be exciting. I don't think it will be as good as the match between Damon and Demolanta.
No, that might end up being the best one ever.
But I think it will. I think it will end up going to overtime.
Dan needs to play better than he played against Schneider.
Yeah.
I will say that. He was very good against Snyder. He missed, 2 questions, I think?
Yeah.
He can't miss 2. He can miss 1 question or less.
Yep, I agree. All right, so let's move on to movies here. So
we're not doing any fan league stuff?
Oh, yes, we will. Because I brought up 3 things in the description, and I can't.
You did. And I'm going to rely on you because I've only watched one of them.
Okay, so let's start with Full Metal Geek.
That's the one I watched. So
okay, cool. So we'll start with that one. Nick Tuhig versus Thomas Scully.
Yep.
Holy moly, that was a bloodbath.
Well, I mean, it ended up being that way, but I think it's closer than it indicates. They were basically right there. Scully took a category he thinks he's superb at. He's very good at it, but he's not Nick Tuhig level good category. And as they said in the video, which I thought was very telling, he didn't watch the deep cut movies, which apparently is very, very important when you get to that level. And Nick at that time had COVID, and he had 2 weeks to just hang out and watch movies, and it worked for him. And that's besides the fact that even I think if Nick hadn't watched the deep cut movies, I think it goes 5 rounds, but I still think he wins because he's the greatest Geek player I've ever seen. I think he's better than Parker at this point.
I actually agree. I think he is the best Geek player ever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've never seen him lose a match personally. I know he said he lost the one to Scully, but I don't know where that is. And I'm going to say that it got lost in the annals of history because I don't know if I want to see it. But it was a knockout, but I think the score was closer. The match was closer than the score indicated, I guess is what I will say.
Yeah, it was quite a match. I don't know if he just doesn't ever want to go to the Schmoedown, because I remember
why would he?
Can't
you make the argument, and I've always had the internal struggle of this, that the fan leagues are somewhat better overall competition than the Schmoedown?
Yeah,
I guess. That argument? Besides the fact in Geek that Parker's there. Other than that.
Well, I think Chandru and now Mara have...
I think maybe Geek it's a little different. I think singles and teams, you could make a case that the fan leagues are more competitive. At least the questions are definitely harder.
Yeah.
And it's more impressive when people win in the fan leagues to me, based on what I've seen in the Schmoedown. But maybe Geek, you're right, because the level of competitor there has risen. At the top is so high level.
Yep. I agree with that. I think if he went to the Schmoedown, he'd be champion within the first year.
Yeah, if they let him.
Yeah.
Let him do it. Yeah. I don't think there's a question.
Yeah, no.
The question would be, how many questions in a year would Nick miss? And my guess would be 2 or less.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe less than 5.
It's if that's the bet, I would take the under all day, every day. Because it's just, I know they added all this other crap to it, but it's mostly still just core Geek.
Yeah, because like again, like I watched the IG matches now, and before they added all the new stuff, I was decent. In round 1, I could get like 8 out of 10. In round 2, if they spun a strength that I'm good at, I could sweep the board. But now that they've added all the crap, I can't do well at all. And it's the same reason why I don't play fandom is all those other categories, man. I don't have time. I have 2 kids and a wife.
It can really weigh on you. I'll tell you that as someone who does play in fandom now, it can weigh on you.
It's trust me, I've thought about going to fandom, but man, I don't have enough time. Like, I do not. And like even the mixed bag stuff, like I barely have enough time to study that. I would not be able to jump another extra 70 movies in there.
No.
Yeah, no.
It's very difficult. But the point is that you're right. If Nick decided to jump, he would be a champion. I don't think there's very much anybody could do about it. And it's interesting when he answers questions, I just always assume the answer is in the front of his brain. It very rarely looks, from my point of view, my perspective, that he has to go to the back of his head to pull an answer. It looks like everything is just there for him to pick from very easily. And that, I think, is the sign of someone who is elite, and someone who doesn't have to struggle ever. And that was very impressive. And Scully is probably a top 8 to 10 Geek player of all time, for sure. And I'm probably shortchanging him a little.
Yeah, I was going to say he's in the top.
He might be top 5. In fan leagues. Obviously.
Yeah.
Like I said, I might be shortchanging him a little.
Yeah, I think it's Nick, Robert. I'm trying to think of
Tim Bracala. He was the champion there before, so you got to give him some due.
Tim,
and he's Nick's partner, so I mean they train all the time.
And then Scully, and then maybe between Amaru and David
and Joe at this point now. Yeah. Yeah, you're probably right. And Scully ripped through that tournament fairly easily. I mean, I thought Albert was going to win that tournament, and Scully dispatched him fairly easily. So Scully's 10-3 in that league. I mean, he's only lost to 2. I forget. I think he has one other loss, but I think 2 of those 3 losses are Tuig. And I could be wrong. Tuig could be all the losses. Frankly, I don't remember. But yeah, he's very, very good. And Nick, I don't want to say toyed with him, but Nick made him seem not as good as he is. And that's the nature of somebody being so good.
Yeah, I agree. I'm trying to look up, because we're going to talk about TMG next.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what the score was, so I'm looking up the video right now.
All right. Well, I'll vamp a little bit. So we're going to move on. We're going to talk about TMG Geek match. We had the culmination of the tournament that had finished up at the end of last year with Joe Fairley and Amaru playing one of the better Geek matches I've seen in those leagues. I think it was the best TMG Geek match that had happened. Joe pulling out an answer that he wasn't even sure was correct, and they didn't know it was correct until they had said that he was the champion. And David lost to Joe because David was in a hospital room having to play a semifinal match against him. David, who I took to the wire. And because he lost that match, and because Alan lost to Amaru in a lost match that never aired, they played in a third place match. And whoever won that one would automatically be the number one contender. That David won, I think, fairly easily.
Yeah.
And that set up for this first Geek match of 2021, which was a title match. You never really see that in leagues where the first match that opens up a league is a title match. But that was the case here with Joe and David playing in a rematch as partners in other leagues, as members of the same faction in other leagues, and blah, blah, blah. So that set up to this. So,
yep. All right. So I just looked it up.
Yeah.
The score was 35-36 with Joe winning by TKO.
Oh.
Yep. So, yeah, that was
that would be unexpected, obviously, because we know the caliber. I know the caliber directly because I lost to him, of David Garcia Alonso.
Yeah.
He and Joe are primarily focused on Geek. They rarely venture outside the waters of Geek to do anything else. And when you look at them when they play, especially when they play together, you can see how even they are in terms of strength. So the fact that it ended up Joe being a TKO, I think, is highlighting Joe's trajectory into being one of these upper echelon Geek players in fan leagues now and in the history of fan leagues.
Yeah, like, I'm wondering who in TMG will be able to take. Like, we'll probably see David and him go again. I know they got the regular season going down. Like, I already have a match. I don't know when it's planned. I know who I'm playing against, but
I don't want to toot my own horn, but I'm going to play, and I was right there in some matches, and I've played Joe, and I've taken him to the wire, so I'm going to throw my name in that ring too.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think, like,
Ryan Payne was always good.
Yep. But yeah, I think Joe's got it for a while. I just want to see how he does in Full Metal, and then
we'll see how it is that they space out title matches in TMG, right?
Yep.
But I would agree that it would not be very surprising if Joe held the belt for the entirety of 2021.
Yeah. All right, and then let's move to opening night trivia. Their Geek division. It was Joe Farrelly versus Nico Suave Rigoli.
Yep.
And Joe won 27-8.
What the hell happened to Nico in that match?
Yeah, he was 1 point away from knocking him out at the end of the third round.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
Like, yeah.
All I heard, because I played an opening night trivia league Geek match, and Nico was the host, and he was talking about all the training that he was putting in, because he had to get ready, because he was playing Joe in multiple leagues, because he's not only playing him, he played him in Ontel, but he's also playing him in
Nerd
in Movie Trivia Challenge too.
Yeah. Yeah. Joe killed him.
Yikes!
Like, Joe gave him
it.
Joe gave him mixed bag in round 3, and he gave Joe DC, and Joe swept the table in DC, and Nico only got like one question right.
Mixed bag's a tough chore in that league too, because there are some very, very out of left field movies for that.
Yeah. It's I watched. I think I watched all 3 matches yesterday, or Thursday or Wednesday. I watched all the matches. So,
well, you're a better preparer than I am.
Yeah. Well, I knew we were going to talk about it, and I knew I was like, "Ooh, I want to talk about it."
course.
because we're starting fan league stuff for myself, and I'm like, ooh, I am not gonna do as well as these people. But hey, it's okay.
You want to highlight the people who are at the top of the food chain for these. And it's clear that there is a top of the food chain, especially for Geek and fan leagues. There's Nick and Scully, Tim, and Joe's a little bit under them, and David. And then,
Yeah.
there's other people.
Yeah, like I'm really excited to start up Full Metal Geek. That's going to be fun.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about some of the things we got going on before we move on?
Sure.
You go ahead.
Okay, so I have a Full Metal Geek match. I have no idea when it's going to be aired, and I will not reveal when we're taping it.
Yeah.
But it will be taped remotely soon, and yeah, it's gonna be a good time. Gotta get back studying like I need to. Yeah, and then I got a TMGeek match coming up at some point. Again, I know who my opponent is, but I'm not going to reveal it on thing in case the people at TMG don't.
Teases everybody. Teases. That's what we call in the business a tease.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting. Like I'm ready to play. I have some things I'll discuss.
Colton, discuss all your strengths and weaknesses right now on air.
Okay, so my strength is Nicolas Cage movies, and my weaknesses I think are musicals.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you can fit that in there,
all those geek musicals.
Yeah. And now, granted,
Spider-Man: Turn Off the Dark.
Yep. Yeah, there's that one scene in Spider-Man 3 where Mary Jane's singing. Does that count? And then
not only that, but there's the dance number. Yeah.
Yeah. But if that doesn't count, then oops. Yeah, all those musicals in that geek realm. Yep.
Yeah.
No, good Lord. That would be very interesting. Like the MCU is always doing different types of movies.
Yeah.
If
they should do a musical, honestly.
They absolutely should. Even if it's
a Western too. I know that like Star-Lord is essentially a Western based character, gunslinger, but they should really do like a Western based type of thing. Like if Guardians 3 was so self-contained that it was basically like them trying to help a town, like the Magnificent Seven type of deal, I'd be for that. That'd be fun. That would be cool for me. Yep. And there's an obvious tie-in because Chris Pratt was in the Magnificent Seven. But whatever. You know what I mean.
Yep. All right. So what you got going on fan league wise?
I'm very busy over the last couple weeks. I won't go into many details either, but in multiplex, they are starting up the fandom summer tournament in terms of filming, and I am playing in the first round of that. I obviously, again, don't know when that will air. I will not reveal opponents, but we did go through and we are filming that. I also have, which should air later on after this, I'm also playing my first Warzone Teams match with my partner, Melissa Woody. We are Pain and Panic, like Hades' henchman in Hercules.
That's
enjoy that. Really enjoy that nickname. But we're doing our first match in that. I also have a Full Metal Geek debut match coming up, which we'll be filming shortly. Again, don't know when that will air. And if you're watching this, I will let you know that this is coming out on the Sunday. That this Sunday, today, I will be playing in the Champs Week version of 2X Trivia Night. So you can watch this in the morning, and then you can watch live 2X Trivia Night, and I'll be on that too. So if you really want to get your daily dose of me and get really sick of me on a Sunday, that's the process that you can go through. But other than that, I'm going to have my Ontel singles debut coming down the line at some point. I'll play in DMG at some point. But those are the things that are coming down the pike more soon than everything else. So those are the ones that I can mention and talk about. Those will be happening soon.
And I know Titan Trivia is finally getting back up. They're gonna do Titan Mania.
Yep, Titan Mania will be coming soon, and then there's draft coming, and there will be additional matches coming down the future.
Yep. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else that of course, like I'm in the Clash of the Combatants with Combat Wrestling Trivia.
Yeah.
I think we just finished week 5, maybe week 6. I don't remember. I am doing just lovely. I have won 1 match. So that's great. That is 100% more than I hadn't won before. So we'll take it.
Yeah.
But so I'm really excited about that. Like that's the most interesting trivia that I do because I recall stuff so much easier, like stuff that happened in like 1996 that I probably was only like 5 years old when my dad was watching. I'm like, hey, I know that. And then young Colton pops out and then he writes something on a piece of paper and I'm like, ooh, I know the answer. But
sometimes your inner child is way more reliable than your adult person age and their memory. So makes sense.
And like it's very interesting. Like I don't stress over it like I do Geek Trivia because I know I should be better at Geek Trivia if I dedicated myself to it. But I would rather hang out with my kids and my wife and like do this podcast and stuff. Like if I just sat there with my cards all day, I could get actors, directors, and composers down like that if I really, really wanted to. But that's not me. But if you ask me who the WWE champion was in 2003, I can tell you what's up.
Who was it?
Oh, so many people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like Kurt Angle, Brock Lesnar.
There you go.
Yeah, so since I didn't specify a time period in that year, but yeah, like I really enjoy it. Like if anyone who likes wrestling out there, you should totally play one time. JB3 is the best. Even if you don't win, it's a lot of fun. Trust me, coming from me, I'm a big loser. And my goal every match is just to do better points-wise than my match before. I don't have to win. I just have to do better than myself. And that's the goal. But all right, let's talk movies. We got MCU Phase 1. So that's Iron Man, The Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, Thor, Captain America, the First Avenger, and The Avengers.
Hooray.
So that's 6 movies. So
I call it it's the bookend phase because Iron Man is great.
Yeah.
Avengers is great. Everything else in the middle is fine to awful.
Yeah. I know I had asked in the chat for people to think about it. Who was your favorite hero and who was your favorite villain during the course of Phase 1? But to also put a little pressure on you. What's your favorite movie in Phase 1?
My favorite movie in Phase 1 is Iron Man, hands down. I even like it more than the Avengers because at least Iron Man has a story and it has a lot of weight on its back. Not only the Iron Man suit that Tony Stark eventually builds, but just the weight of expectations for an entire universe. So because Iron Man is my favorite movie, it stands to reason that Iron Man, Tony Stark, is my favorite hero through Phase 1. I don't even think that's a question. I don't like Iron Man 2 because it is associated, as I mentioned last week, with a difficult-ish period of my life, aka me trying to graduate from college. And I was trying to use Iron Man 2 as a reprieve, and it was anything but. But even in Iron Man 2, Robert Downey Jr. is doing his best to try to save that movie as much as he can. Wasn't working out so great, but it stands to reason he would be my favorite hero. And then the best villain of that group would be Loki from the Avengers. And I don't think that's particularly close either. I guess you can make the case for the Red Skull, but the Red Skull is somewhat of a caricature through a majority of that movie. And Loki's better in the Avengers than he is in Thor, personally. So if I had to suss out how I feel about Phase 1, it is my least favorite phase. I really only like those bookend movies. I mean, I like parts of Captain America, the First Avenger, but I wouldn't say it's one I try to go back to. I don't like The Incredible Hulk. I don't like Iron Man 2. And Thor doesn't hold my attention. So those would be the answers to those questions that you were seeking, Colton. If you have additional questions about the things that I had said, you can proceed, but that's how I feel about that phase as a whole.
Okay, so I agree with everything you just said.
Oh,
Iron Man 1, I've never met someone who said Iron Man 1 is the best movie in Phase 1. I absolutely agree with that. That is my favorite. That is in my top probably 4.
I don't know if it's there for me per se, but I think it's the best crafted movie of that bunch.
Yeah, like I think it might be that the fact that I was like a sophomore in high school when it came out. So I was like, ooh, this is cool. And then I went through a weird phase whenever I started college of, hey, I'm going to stop doing nerdy things. That's not how you get chicks. So I stopped watching. Yeah, that was so dumb. Like, this is how you look at this, all this stuff in my, there's Glamdring, and then there's the child and lightsabers. That's how you get women. I'm married. Hey, past Colton, if you find like a ripple in time to watch this, get yourself a big old Darth Vader, and you'll meet a little Latina woman one day, and she'll love you forever. Or she says so anyway. But
are you looking through the same ripple of time at your future too?
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
But yeah, like it was definitely a different time. So I didn't watch Incredible Hulk. I watched Iron Man 2. I did not watch Thor or Captain America in theaters.
No, I don't think I did either.
And I didn't watch them until after Iron Man 3 came out. Because I was just like, I had already seen Avengers. To me, that I already knew what was going on. And then I went back and watched it. And I was like, ooh, I really like the Red Skull. Ooh, I really like Loki. And those are pretty much the only two things I like about.
To be honest, I don't think I started actively watching MCU movies in the theater consistently till Winter Soldier. Like, I think I watched Avengers. I don't even think I watched Iron Man in the theaters, honestly. But after Winter Soldier and on, I watched everyone in the theater.
Yeah, like I was much more of an X-Men fan than I was an MCU fan. Like, I was an Iron Man person, but I didn't like the rest of the Avengers. They just, in my mind, I thought they were dumb. And then Iron Man 3 happened and Winter Soldier happened. And I was like, ooh, I like these other supporting characters. Okay. And then I went to every single movie, every single midnight premiere since Winter Soldier, and I have visibly aged because of that. Except for now, we get to deal with Black Widow at the house, so that will be really, really nice.
Yeah, that will be the first one I haven't watched in theaters in a minute, because I'm going to watch that at home for sure.
Yeah, I will also.
I know a lot of people have been aching for the movie-going experience and hope for it. I'm fine either way, honestly.
Yeah, honestly, I'm one of those people where, like, people, especially like, I live in the South, which you live also in the South, technically, as well. Like, they don't like Disney because of the fact that, oh, you shouldn't make me pay a monthly charge and then also charge me $30. And I always bring it up. I'm like, if I go watch a movie in theaters, it's at least like $80 in the theater, because all 4 of us want drinks. All 4 of us want popcorn. The kids want candy. And then it's also like $30 or maybe $40 to get into get 4 tickets. And
gas.
Yeah, plus gas, plus probably food beforehand. So I'm
Yeah.
ended up spending like $100 on this movie.
Or if you're like us and we go to Alamo Draft House, you eat dinner there.
Yeah,
That requires additional money because meals are expensive too.
yeah, that's one of those things where I've been to Austin
Yeah.
a few times.
Mhm.
I love the Alamo.
Alamo Draft House is great.
Yep.
I couldn't recommend it more. We didn't have those. I came from up north, so when I got to go to them when I was down here, I was like, "This is great."
Yep. They have something very similar in North Carolina, but it's nowhere near as good. But yeah, I love the idea of someone bringing me food while I watch a movie.
Great. And then there's ones where you have, and I don't like these as much as Alamo, but they have other ones where you have like buttons to signal people. Isn't that great?
Yeah. I remember like I went to one of those places watching The Force Awakens.
Yep.
And it was like my 9th time watching it. So it was okay when the person came in my view and started talking to me.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't, but I could definitely not go to one of those experiences the first time or the second time I'm watching it. Because the first time I'm just watching it in awe because of whatever happened. And the second time I'm trying to pick out cool Easter eggs, especially with Marvel movies. But yeah, like it's so least expensive to like get the $30 on Disney Plus. I can sit on my couch and I can heat up a burrito, and then we all good to go. Or leftovers from whatever me and my wife made the night before, or the kids can go grab like chips or whatever from the pantry, and you can pause it. So if someone's like, I gotta go to the bathroom, then you don't have to miss like 10 minutes of the movie, because as a responsible parent, you don't let your 10-year-old run out to the bathroom by themselves.
You're in more control of the environment.
Yep.
Which is nice.
Yeah. So honestly, I think that might be a thing where if companies start doing that, I may never go to the movie theater ever again.
Yep.
Which I hate because that will kill the movie theater industry, but
times evolve, you know?
Yep. But yeah, like, so yeah, Iron Man, definitely my favorite hero, and Loki is definitely my favorite villain.
What's your favorite part of an MCU Phase 1 movie?
Okay, so it's weird, like, there's this one scene in Iron Man 2 where Nick Fury's showing the map of the world, and it's showing all like the little dots where all the Avengers are. I love that scene because, you know, there's the scene in it, or they have a dot in South America, and you know that's where Hulk is, and then there's a dot in Africa, and you know that's where Wakanda is, and then there's a dot in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, or where the Pacific and the Indian Ocean meet, whatever. And you're like, that's Namor, and they haven't done anything with it yet. But I'm like, ooh.
Well, I mean, not to spoil anything, but they intimate him in Endgame.
Yeah, they do reference earthquakes under the
ocean.
Under
the ocean. We handle it by not handling it.
Yep. So I like that scene because it shows that they are painting a bigger picture already at that point. But I also love the scene where Phil Coulson's like the Strategic Homeland Intervention Enforcement and Logistics Division.
That's a mouthful. You can look at that.
You can just call us SHIELD, and then Nick Fury shows up, and I'm like, huh? They're doing the thing. And they set it up from the very beginning that they're going to do the Avengers. And like Kevin Feige is a genius. Like, of course, like there's things that he could have never anticipated. Like he would have probably never anticipated that we'd get Spider-Man. So that little kid in Iron Man 2 obviously was not Peter Parker. But now they have retroactively said, hey, that's Peter Parker.
I mean, it works as a timeline. And, you know, Jon Favreau's kid got a part in a Marvel movie. Mine, I have 3 parts that I can think of offhand, 2 in Iron Man and 1 in Avengers. I really enjoy Tony Stark built this in a cave with a box of scraps. I was going to yell it, but I'm not going to. And we get a call back for that in Spider-Man Far From Home, which is great.
Yeah.
And then, I'm Nick Fury, and I'm here to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative, which is the greatest, in my opinion, post-credit scene ever. And then in Avengers, I like when Hulk smashes Loki and goes, "Puny God."
Yeah, I like all of those. I also really love the casting of Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury is great.
It's a little meta, right? Because the
Yeah,
joke at that time was that he was in everything, and then they were like, "Well, you're going to be the dude who ends up showing up in everything because you're the linchpin."
and also like back in the 80s and 90s, Nick Fury was a white dude, which is the reason.
I used to play that Punisher game on Sega, the side-scrolling one, and I would always play as Nick Fury over the Punisher, and yeah, it was great that they replaced that dude.
Well, and like that's the reason why in the direct-to-TV movie, David Hasselhoff is Nick Fury because he looks like that. And then in the early 2000s, they brought out the Ultimate run, and they based Nick Fury off of Samuel L. Jackson. And then Marvel turns around and casts Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury, and I'm like, that is wonderful. I love it. Continue to do that.
And they did. They continued to find people who ended up being the perfect versions of who they needed to,
Yeah, like I love when they do like little moments like that. Now, at the same time, I hate when they do like do you play video games?
I do, but not as much as I used to, and I'm not up on trends. But go ahead and.
All right, so in the Spider-Man PS4 game,
I have that. I love it.
So the old Peter Parker looked great. In the new Spider-Man PS5 version of it, it looks exactly like Tom Holland, and I hate that.
Yeah, you kind of would like those things to be separate.
But it's only because I got so used to looking at the PS4 version's face for 45 hours while I played.
Yeah.
And now that they've changed it, I'm like, ooh, I don't want to play this game anymore. Also, I don't want to buy a new system for a new game, but that's more or less because I have kids.
I buy the new system anyway for other things. That's just an add-on to it. I do love that game. It's one of my favorite games that has come out in the last 5 years, personally.
Oh, yeah, I agree completely. Like, I bought the game not because I'm a Xbox guy. I bought the game because I knew I could go find a PS4 and play it on it. So I wouldn't have to buy a PS4. I went to this shop where they had a PS4 there, and I was just like, "Can I play this PS4?" And they were like, "I don't care," because my buddies owned the shop, and they were like, "Sure." So I played through the entire game. I stayed there for like an entire week. After work one day, my wife was at the time she was just my girlfriend.
Yeah.
She wasn't super happy about it, but yeah, it's whatever. We got married, so I win, I guess.
I was an Xbox guy, and then I'm not a multiplayer guy. I like to play on my own because I don't want to rely on other people, and my skills for multiplayer declined over time. But all my favorite games were on PlayStation, so I was just like, I'll get a PS4. So I bought the Uncharted 4 version of it, which still looks very cool. And I play stuff like God of War and Uncharted and Spider-Man and things like that because I'm a basic bitch.
Yeah, I use my Xbox for entertainment mostly. My wife watches a lot of Criminal Minds on it, unless we find a new show, and then like she'll do this thing where if she watches a new show, as soon as it's over, she'll go back and rewatch 13 seasons of Criminal Minds, and I'm like, you just watched that 3 months ago. But hey, so that's what my Xbox is for. But we have a Nintendo Switch, so me and the boys play Pokemon on that a lot. Yeah, and that's loads of fun. But I love how we were on movies, and then
and coming back to movies before we move on, going back to the MCU, something that happened that was really important on Friday was that it was announced that Sony's streaming rights were purchased by Netflix. So things like Spider-Verse 2 and Venom There Will Be Carnage and things like that are just going to come to Netflix, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I absolutely love that because so far I've been able to watch all the MCU movies, right? Except Incredible Hulk.
Yep, can't watch that one.
And because I'm not buying it.
No, I was remember in TMG when we were gonna do the franchise wars for Marvel.
Yeah.
I was going through and I'm breaking stuff here. I was going through and rewatching all that stuff, and I did all the MCU except that because I got an extension on one of my other streaming services for Stars, and Stars has Spider-Man, the Spider-Man. But that one, I don't want to buy that or rent it. I don't want to give any more money to it. I've done it before, and I don't want to do it again.
Yeah, and I don't want to illegally watch it either because that's not my jam either. So yeah, and I can't find. I have the first Spider-Man. I have Homecoming on Blu-ray, but I don't have Far From Home because who buys Blu-rays anymore? Like I bought like the first two phases and then the first half of phase 3 before I decided, hey, I'm not going to spend money on Blu-rays anymore. That happens, but so I have a good chunk. Like I have Homecoming, but yeah, I don't have Far From Home, so I haven't been able to watch that with the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but now if it goes to Netflix, I'll be able to watch both of them, so that'd be good. But yeah, I know next week we're going to do phase 2, and that's going to be interesting. It's Iron Man 3, Thor the Dark World, Winter Soldier, Guardians of the Galaxy, Age of Ultron, and then Ant-Man. So that's another good 6 movies. That I think there's only really one stinker in there.
I like 3 3/4 of that. I think is how it evens out.
Yeah. Well, I like Iron Man. Okay, that's not true. I like half of Iron Man 3. The Mandarin. We'll talk about it next week. I will go on a rant next week about Iron Man.
We'll go on a rant next week. Save it for next week.
Yep. So we'll worry about that later. So you want to move on to TV now?
Yeah. Let's do what the people come here to listen to us do, which is talking about.
Okay, and I gotta scroll down so I can get the spoilers there. All right, spoilers. Hey, you out there, have you seen Falcon and the Winter Soldier episode 4? You haven't? Okay, so pause this. Go watch that. Come back. All right, you came back? All right, well, it was a good episode. I really liked it. John Walker is a tragic, sad character. Like, I feel so bad for the guy.
I mean, it's all highlighted and emphasized by the fact that people on the internet destroy him because they don't understand the reasoning behind why he's made to be a shittier version of Captain America. They don't understand why that's the case.
Yeah. And, like, I mean, he is Kurt Russell's son.
Yes, he is.
And he's a great actor, and I like.
Have you ever watched Overlord?
Yes.
I like him in Overlord. I've never watched the Lodge 49 show on AMC, but it has like a Big Lebowski-ish vibe. And listening to him talk in person, he seems like he would go with that. So I've liked him in everything I've watched him in.
Yeah, like he does some good work, and he's a great John Walker. Like I like it a lot. There's one, like, I don't know if you noticed this, and it might have been intentional, but when Zemo was talking, his accent would go away every little bit, and I'm like, I really like. I say I can do accents. I could probably do like an horribly offensive Russian accent, but like horribly offensive. Probably not.
In America, accent watches you.
Yes. How are you doing today?
Moose and squirrel.
Yes. I got my Coca-Cola here. We are not sponsored by them. Do not take us down. I'm so sorry.
If I could change and you could change, then we can change together. Thank you, Rocky.
But like, so that was literally the only problem is I could hear his Sokovian accent go out every little bit, and I was
His
like,
German accent.
yeah, his Sokovian accent.
No, but I mean, you mean it left for his German accent as Daniel Bruhl.
Yeah,
it's German. Yeah.
Yep. So I like the episode. The ending is so like it's such a 2021 thing that something like that's happening that people immediately have their phone out.
The whole world is watching. That's the name of this episode, and it speaks to a lot of different themes of what entails in this episode. And when I teased when you were talking about Black Panther, we were talking about Chadwick Boseman. I liked some of the thematic elements of this episode. I've thought episodes have played between different thematics of different MCU movies, mostly Civil War and Winter Soldier. That moment reminded me so much of Black Panther when they're chasing Ulysses Claw and he's just about to kill him, and Shuri or Okoye is like, "You're my king. Don't do that," because all the phones were around him, and he had enough sense to stop, even though it leads to bad things for him down the past, which is just like a nice little dichotomy between what how a real hero handles themselves in situations, and how someone like John Walker, even though he is now super powered, how he handles himself in that situation. So I really like that juxtaposed together.
So what did you think about Zemo's entire thing of the serum corrupts?
It's an interesting theme. I like how, again, that is connected and adjacent to the conversation that Walker and Lamar Hoskins have, because they have that same conversation, right? Zemo asks Sam if he would take the serum, and he says no right away. Walker asks Battlestar if he would take it, and he's like, absolutely, because doesn't giving you power just fully engage and let people know who you are more, which a lot of people have talked about. There's dichotomy between that mode of philosophy. Does absolute power corrupt absolutely, or does absolute power just reveal more of who you are as a person? And technically the serum is supposed to do that. The serum is supposed to highlight what you are as a person. Yeah. So I think it's corruptible if you are corruptible. But people like Steve Rogers who are not corruptible, it just enhances what it is that they have inside. But it's an interesting also dichotomy because it's not the same serum, which I really enjoyed about last week's episode, because it's not something that you can visibly see. It's something that has been streamlined and designed so that anybody could be a super soldier. You wouldn't know because it doesn't change the body type, which is cool.
Yeah. Yeah, like I agree. Like the entire absolute power corrupts absolutely is, I believe is very true, except in the case of Cap and T'Challa. Like they have all this power and they are completely humble about it. And yeah, like
the freaking Dora Milaje. The Dora Milaje seemed like, which is a funny moment when he can't pick up the shield from the Dora Milaje spear, and he's like, they weren't even super soldiers. They certainly freaking seemed like super soldiers the way they were beating their ass and the way that they could like pick up things. But I thought that was very interesting. I liked Zemo more in this episode. I know people like him from the previous episode because of his dancing and because of how it is he was trying to manipulate them. I liked him in this episode. One other thing thematically I thought was very funny was the Turkish Delight deal, because I don't know if you got this sense, but it reminded me of the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. He was like the white witch trying to corrupt like the kids around him by offering them Turkish Delight. I love that part of it, and I thought that was really cool. And ended up having a kid as like his agent to let him know when it is that the funeral for Danya Milani was happening, which I thought was cool.
Yeah, I really, really like Zemo. Like, I'm glad he got away. I hope he survives, because Daniel Bruhl is just a great actor. And
I've never not liked him and stuff.
And yeah, like the dancing scene, I saw a meme over the weekend that was like how people are going to be dancing at the clubs once this pandemic is over. And I was just I showed it to my wife, and she's like, "You dance exactly like that now."
Well,
and I was like, "Yeah,
maybe you're a uber rich baron.
yeah." I was like,
know it.
"I've been preparing myself for this entire thing my entire life to be awkward in public."
Yeah,
I have been, but I don't go to clubs and stuff, but I danced at my wedding, so that's something. But yeah, like, I really liked him. I'm trying to remember her name.
Carly Morgenthau.
Yep. I was like Memphis Nest, but yep.
Yeah, Carly Morgenthau.
Yeah.
She was more sympathetic in this one. They keep going up and down with her. She either seems sympathetic because you know her as someone who's a freedom fighter, or then she's not sympathetic because she's someone who is still labeled a terrorist and bombs stuff.
Yep. And I like the scene where I didn't think John was going to get the powers this soon.
I did.
Like, I thought, oh, they'll cut, and then next episode he'll have he'll go through the entire injecting it. Like, I thought we would see him with it in a syringe and be like,
no, they don't want to give him that much time.
Yeah, they don't want to.
They don't want you to think that he would have a struggle with it.
Yeah,
because they already had that conversation. He already pocketed the serum, and they intimated that he was going to do it when he got his ass kicked by the Dora Milaje. You're like, at that point, you're like, he's taking the serum. We'll just see if we see him be superpowered at the end of this episode or whether it's the beginning of the next one. But I figured it was about time. Yeah. And when they started showing serum and Zemo was stepping on him, I was like, well, he's going to miss one for sure. And there it was. So.
Yeah. It's going to do you think he'll wear the mask anymore?
Yeah.
I really hope that he does. I love that mask.
I want to show his face after that, which we haven't actually said what he did. So let's go a little bit into that.
Okay.
Sam, Bucky. The only thing I don't like about this episode is I think Bucky was marginalized a lot in this episode. I didn't like that part of it. I did think the part where they took his arm off was cool. And I do like the beginning when we go to Wakanda and we see him getting rehabilitated. I thought that was cool. But other than that, I think he's very marginalized in this episode. He's just like the muscle guy, which he mostly is, but he's also a tragic muscle guy. This one, he just seemed like he was more the muscle guy. So Sam and them get the idea to go to Carly Morgenthau, to go to Bulgaria, Riga, to try to catch her at her grandma's funeral. And Sam has an idea to talk her down, which is a great callback because he got to talk about his past before he met Cap of being a counselor for people at the VA hospital. So they catch him there. They look like they're connecting, Sam and Carly, but John Walker is too much of a hothead to let him actually, and probably doesn't want to share the credit, really. That leads to a fight, that leads to a chase. Eventually, the Dora Milaje get involved because they're sick of waiting for Zemo to get captured. We know John Walker has the serum. He decides to take it after that battle. Carly calls Sam's sister to let her know that she's going to give her the information about where Sam can meet her, and use that as basically a show of power that she knows Sam's sister and that she can get to them. Sam and Bucky show up. It looks like they're reaching some sort of agreement, or they might, because they really see eye to eye. But, she really wants to kill John Walker, and he's not into killing, as was mentioned, as we saw in the kind of discussion they had. So there's a chase. Lamar Hoskins is captured. There's a fight between super soldiers on one side and Sam, John Walker, Bucky, and Battlestar. Battlestar gets hit in the chest very, very hard, super hard, and he dies. Sorry, Battlestar. Rest in peace. We hardly knew ye. But he died. John Walker, with his newfound strength, could not let it go, chases one of them down, and freaking ends them with his vibranium shield, and while he does that, the whole world is watching. Takes camera footage of it, and now our new Captain America is a murderer.
Yeah, like it's so weird. Like, obviously, we're on episode 4. There's only 2 episodes left.
That's really sad. I don't like that at all, but you're absolutely correct.
Now, it's weird for a few reasons. One, we got that scene in the trailer of Sam throwing the shield and then getting it out of the tree. So now we know for a fact he gets the shield back. And I kind of wish they hadn't put that in the trailer. Because I want John to have the shield for a little longer. Like, I like the idea of a corrupted Captain America. Like, I always thought, at least in the movies, Steve is too innocent, and now John Walker is too much, way too much,
a little too much.
But that nice middle ground might be nice, like, because America's not all good or bad. We have times where we're in the gray. We're not all dark and light. So I think
John Walker kind of skews chaotic neutral, and I think we need a more neutral.
Yeah.
And so we need someone like Sam. He probably skews more towards like lawful neutral, and that's closer to what we need. Chaotic neutral, even though it's still close, is a little bit too far out of left field. So
yeah, I love the D&D reference.
Thank you. That's how I talk about any versions of good and evil. It's the only way I can think about it.
Yeah, I love Dungeons and Dragons. But we're gonna go on. If we continue with that, we'll be here for the next 4 hours.
Yeah. So what are your let's end by talking about expectations. What do you think about what's gonna come for the last 2 episodes?
Okay, so I unfortunately think that Zemo is going to be recaptured, and
it has to be. It would seem really weird if he stayed on the lam.
Yeah, but it's going to be weird because I think they probably filmed this before Chadwick died, so I think he would have been like a major character in Black Panther 2, and now with Chadwick's passing, I don't know what they're going to do with that, but
I think Shuri will be the new Black Panther, and figure other stuff out. I just don't know how they're going to rectify it in the timeline, but we'll see what happens in 2023 or whatever.
Yeah, we'll see that, but I want to see him in more stuff. Like, he is such a good. I don't want to call him a villain. He is definitely an anti-hero because the way he sees things, he's not wrong. Like, superpowered individuals do cause a lot of mess.
That's exactly what Vision said in Civil War, right?
Yeah.
Might invites challenge, and that leads to casualties on an exponential rate. It's the same. It's what Zemo's saying too. I would say Zemo's an anti-hero as opposed to an anti-hero.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't want the Flag Smashers to go down either, because guess what? I understand. Like, they were around for the 5 years where the Earth was peaceful, and now all these people have come back, and we don't have the infrastructure for it.
I like that conversation Sam has with that guy in the little camp where they talk about we're not refugees because we're not taking refuge from anywhere. We're I forget what he says, international displaced individuals. It's like, that's a nice way to put it. You're right. It's not the same thing exactly.
But yeah, like, all these things have happened during this entire period, and like, I don't want them to go away. And in my mind, I'm like, ooh, like, if he can get over his entire super soldier thing, which I don't know if he can, or if all the super soldiers just don't. I don't want to say die, because again, I don't want.
Well, we're down to 10 super soldiers right now. I think we have the Flag Smashers have 8. We have Bucky, and then now we have John Walker. So we're at 10. We can't go beyond 10 at this point.
Yeah, so if all the flags smash, like, I don't want Carly to die, but
I think someone of repute will die. I also want to say that I hope Torres comes back. We haven't seen Torres in 2 episodes. I think he should come back.
yeah, but I would love the idea, like, maybe it's just like he wears a mask and they wear masks. So that might be the only coordination there. But I would love for that if he took him over and then that was an entire like thing that he just did.
Are you on board with the theory that Sharon Carter's the power broker?
I would be okay with that according to how they do it.
I definitely thought it was her. I know she was using her contacts to track John Walker and Battlestar, but when she's like looking at them on the satellite, I'm like, oh my god, she's definitely the power broker. Look at how much power she could wield.
Yeah, but yeah, like this is an interesting time. Like I don't know where this goes. Like
I think Sam gets the shield and becomes our new version of Captain America for a new time, and I think Bucky ends up going to Wakanda.
Yeah,
so I would not be surprised Sebastian Stan is in Black Panther 2.
Yep, I would be completely okay if he takes the mantle of White Wolf. Even though like that's not him in the comics, and I know people freak out when they don't do exactly what, but I'm okay with it. Like it's fine.
You got to give some leeway. You got to figure out what Bucky can do, and Bucky doesn't have a whole lot of. After this mission is over, there's not going to be a lot of like ideas for what Bucky can do afterwards. You know,
which I mean, in my heart's heart, that might be an actual okay thing because if he can't do anything, then maybe he can be young Luke Skywalker, and Sebastian Stan can be, and I would love that. But that's me being a selfish Star Wars fan. So let's turn that off and go back to being an MCU guy. I want to see I want to see Bucky have the shield too. Like I want everyone to have a shield. Keep a shield to John Walker. Give Falcon a shield and give Bucky a shield. Be like Oprah. You get a shield and you get a shield. You get a shield.
Doesn't Bucky already have a vibranium shield of sorts? That's his arm.
Yeah, but then now he knows people can turn it off.
Well, only the Dora Milaje, only the Wakandans know about that.
Yeah, but someone's gonna figure it out later in another movie. Like someone.
Can someone explain to me why Bucky always has something that can be turned on him no matter what happens? Whether it's words that can turn him into the Winter Soldier, or whether it's a sequence of swipes on his shoulder that can lead to his arm deactivating. I just feel really bad for him. I just want all things to be operational for Bucky is all.
And yeah, I think I don't know. And it's weird because this show was supposed to end right before Black Widow was supposed to come out. So I wonder if there was supposed to be any ties from this show into the Black Widow movie. Because obviously there's the Russian version of Captain America in the Black Widow movie. So unless he dies, there is another super soldier out there who is that. But and now they moved that to July, something like that.
Yeah, I think that sounds right.
So we'll get Loki before that, but yeah, like this is going to be a interesting time. Like I don't know where it ends. I don't know how it ends. I kind of feel sorry for Sharon.
Yeah, I mean she ends up looking like a tragic figure, which makes her potential to be the power broker even more interesting, right?
Yeah, like her not getting pardoned, and also she doesn't know that Steve's technically her uncle, I would assume.
No.
So
not in that timeline.
Yeah, like so she doesn't know that she's like even Sam and Bucky don't really know what happened because Steve didn't want to tell them.
No, he refused to say anything, so everything is speculation.
Yeah, so in her mind, she's just like, he just abandoned me. And if she had feelings for him, now she's just like having feelings for a guy who's technically her uncle, which is real creepy. I mean, some people, whatever you're into, I guess, but who am I to judge? I mean, he is Captain America. He's pretty dreamy, so apparently. But yeah, like I don't want the show to be over because, like, only 2 more episodes, and then WandaVision got 8, and then we have like 4 weeks.
Yeah,
before
there's a 4-week
Loki
gap.
comes
I'm
on.
very surprised they allowed that. I guess they just think people will need a break, which is bullcrap. We don't need a break. We're fine.
Yeah, I do not need I don't need that extra 45 minutes of sleep every Friday morning. I don't need it because I get up and I watch it at 5 in the morning. Because if I watch it in the afternoon after Friday of work, like, I fall asleep. Like, even watching whatever, I don't remember what I was watching Friday
Watch
afternoon.
it on my lunch breaks. It fills up that time nicely.
Yeah, like I get home and I'm tired and I fall asleep. And if I need to pay attention to everything that's going on during these shows because I just need to. Especially now that I'm, doing this. But
Right. So, recapping how we think this is going to go, there will probably be at least one major death of the show, not probably of the main characters, but there will probably be at least one major death of some sort. And I don't think anything here is really going to lead to anything of importance for anything that we have coming up soon. Maybe down the line in a year or two in cinematic sense, but I don't really think anything. I think this is more of a self-contained story. So I think what you're seeing in these 6 episodes are really contending with what's going to happen in these 6 episodes more than anything else that could portend to something new.
So I was going to ask, I know with WandaVision, they said it was only going to be 1 season. Do you think there's going to be more seasons of this show?
No.
No?
No. I think everything is a one-off.
'Cause-
Maybe Loki isn't, if Tom Hiddleston wants to keep doing it, but I think everything else is basically a one-off.
Because this would be the one series where I would love for them to make continuous seasons.
I'm for anything that gets to highlight Sebastian Stan and Anthony Mackie, because I think they're great.
So I don't know if you noticed this or not, because I did. Like, so when John Walker's going to kill the Flag Smasher, he's doing the exact same thing with the shield
I think that Cap does to Tony Stark.
Yep.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing too.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, but he doesn't have anything to block it. Oh, poor guy. And he just kept on doing it. I'm like, okay, if you had done it like once.
And Steve knew when to stop.
Yeah. And
it was in Siberia, and there weren't people around.
Yeah. Like,
I got that sense too. But I like this up. I think it might be my favorite episode, maybe. This and the first one I like a lot. I don't know if you heard what I said about the third one, but there were parts. A lot of the third one was just things of reminding you of things that had happened, and there were parts of it I really didn't like, especially the dialogue. But this one, I thought was pretty moved the story forward and was pretty connected all the way through. So I think this might be my favorite episode so far.
Yeah. So I have a question. This has to do with trivia a little bit.
Okay.
So the woman that that Winter Soldier meets at the end of the last episode is the same woman who tried to get in the way of Black Widow in Civil War, right?
Ayo, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So last week, obviously I wasn't on the show to ask that question because I recognized her and I was like, huh. And then I always thought, because at the time I wasn't doing trivia. So when Civil War came out. So I just thought they recast.
No, it's the same woman.
Yeah, I just thought they recast a toy. I'm not.
Okoye? No. Danai Gurira is doing a lot of other things, but I'm pretty sure if they asked her to come back, she would.
Yeah. So whenever she was in last week's episode, I was like, oh, that's the same woman from Civil War. So no, that wasn't a recast, and then I was cool with it. Again, I don't know any of I've seen the names written for trivia purposes, but I do not know how to pronounce any of the side characters' names in Black Panther.
Just so everybody's clear, Ao is played by Florence Kasumba. Just want to make sure that everybody knows that, because I did not know the actress's name, unfortunately, but that is who that is. And yeah, she was in Civil War. She was also in Black Panther too. So.
Yeah. Yeah, like I don't know how to pronounce it. I don't try, because that's a thing where even though it's a made up language in a comic book movie, it's based on reality, and I am not going to be the person who mispronounces a language of an. Nope, not going to do it.
Zosha?
So
You don't want to mispronounce something in Zosha?
yeah.
Yeah.
Nope. That's why, like, same thing, like, I do not try and pronounce Chandru's last name, because I am not going to be. I do not have the correct skin color to be mispronouncing people's names, because that
it's not even Chandru either. It's like Chandru or whatever it is. They said it. I learned it before, but I forgot, unfortunately. But yeah.
But yeah, like I just understand how things go, so yep, nope. But to get back onto this, I can't wait for the next 2 weeks.
Yep.
But I'm sad to see it go. I hope they bring it back for multiple seasons. That would be great. The same thing, like I would be cool with the What If series having multiple seasons.
I think that has a chance too, because I think the idea of what ifs can be sustainable, because you can come up with as many what ifs as you want. It doesn't affect anything really. It's just they're cool things that you can talk about. So I think that has a chance to be multiple seasons as well.
Yeah, but because I don't think we will get a Falcon movie ever. So I think if they're going to do stuff more with him that's by himself, I would much rather it be in this format, because this format is so good.
After this run of Phase 4, do not be surprised if Phase 5 and after is just everything new Avengers and recast the stuff. Besides the people who are young enough, like Tom Holland. But don't be surprised if Phase 5, because they've set it up very clearly that they're going to do a new Avengers, that everything after that is new Avengers.
Yep. But I think that's all we got. I know at some point when Anthony comes on here, I want to hear his rant on the legendary movie that is Zack Snyder's Justice League. But and then next week,
teasing it.
Next week, it's my birthday. So
great.
Yep, I turned the big 30. I will be officially old. No offense, Robert.
None taken.
But yeah, so next week we're gonna have my birthday extravaganza. I don't know what that will all entitle. I will have to figure it out. But again, we'll talk Winter Soldier. We'll talk MCU Phase 2, and we'll go on my little rant about Iron Man 3.
Of course.
But
and we'll talk about results of the
Schmoedown.
Full results of the Throwdown.
Yep.
And if there's any other fan league stuff that is of repute, we'll talk about that too.
Yep. And I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, I'm excited. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. Yep. And do you have anything you want to plug or anything?
I do have an episode of Schmo Talks that's coming up this week, I believe, with a very special guest. I think those air on Mondays, so it'll be tomorrow. So please look out for that one. It's a really good episode. I think you'll really enjoy it. Other than that, no, just the fan league stuff. Keep looking out for me at Robert Kastner on Facebook. Again, talk to me if you prefer. I do enjoy to be social.
Yeah. And guys, if you want to follow me on Twitter at Colton Roberts 8, or follow the show at SuperNova_show, that would be good. Yeah, like the show next week, it's going to be really interesting. yeah, like I can't wait. Thank you so much again, Robert, for coming on. Thank you, Kevin, for being on the show last week, hosting it and everything. But yeah, it was good, and let's sign out.
Where the hood at? It's in heaven now. Rest in peace, DMX.
And don't